Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Sky Lila Experience. Today we have Blair Kaplan Venables with us, who is a British Columbia-based grief and resilience expert. Hi, Blair.
Oh, hello.
Thank you so much for coming on today. I really appreciate your time. You guys, I want to go over her whole bio here because it's extraordinary. So, Blair is a grief and resilience expert, motivational speaker, and the founder of the Global Resilience Project. Her expertise has been featured in media outlets including Forbes, CBC Radio, Entrepreneur, and Thrive Global. She is named the top grief and resilience expert of the year 2024 by IAOTP. US Today listed Blair as one of the top 10 conscious female leaders to watch as she empowers others to be resilient from stages around the world. My Story, which is a television show available on Amazon Prime TV, Apple TV, Google Play, showcases Blair's life story. I'm so excited to go watch this. She is the host of the Radical Resilient podcast, a motivational speaker and best-selling author. She specializes in helping people strengthen their resilience muscle using scientifically proven methods and guides grieving high performers with navigating grief framework, her navigating grief framework. The Global Resilience Project book became an international bestseller, and her third book, Resilient AF, I love that, Stories of Resilience, was released on March 1st. In her free time, you can find Blair writing, traveling the world, and helping people through their most challenging moments. Thank you so much, Blair. So Blair and I will be part of hosting a wellness retreat called Ignite at the Fairmont in Whistler, Canada in November. So this is how I so gracefully stumbled upon Blair. And what I love is just the courage you have to talk about all of this because you obviously have been through whatever you've been through. I feel like people who talk about grief and resilience only do so because they've had to go through it on their own and have the courage to do so. Can you tell me, I have so many questions, but perhaps starting with your navigating grief framework or maybe the story of how did you get into this and what's your drive and your passion and your mission behind it all?
Yeah, first of all, thank you for having me and
You
great
just lost
intro.
for ages. Yeah, I know. Like, I'm too
I'm
excited.
really excited for November and it'll be cool to meet you and like learn from you.
Thank you.
So, content warning, I do talk about some heavy stuff. So, if you need to pause this and walk away, do what you need to do to take care of your mental health. And if you need further support in finding mental health professionals in your community or local area, you can reach out to me. Um, so I am a social media and publicity expert by choice, and I'm a grief and resilience expert by circumstance.
Mhm.
And my PR company is 16 years old. I've been doing it for, marketing for almost 20 years. But in 2019, I started the Global Resilience Project. And it all started because I'm the daughter of a man who lived with addiction and a child of divorce. My dad and I were very close. He developed a severe addiction to drugs. He left our family when I was 7. He was in and out of my life. I thought he stopped loving me and I didn't know he was unwell. And in my 20s, I was given the gift of forgiveness, something I wasn't even looking for, but I got given the tools I needed to accept my dad for who he was and forgive him. And we developed a beautiful relationship. And I got to know him and I accepted him for who he was. And he began his journey towards sobriety. And I started to get to know him. He walked me down the aisle at my wedding with my mom. I didn't think these things would ever happen. But at the end of 2018, we learned he was terminally ill. And I just like couldn't process. Like I was like, what? I just have him back in my life. Like that's not fair. And
Mhm.
so I started sharing our story of his addiction, my forgiveness, our resilience, and our story was inspiring people.
Ah,
Yeah, and it was inspiring people to choose sobriety or fix relationships with parents, get counseling, or even share their stories. And so I said, Dad, we have something special. What if we were to write a book? And we gather stories of resilience from around the world, and we bookend it with your story at the beginning and mine at the end. So when you're no longer here, we can still help people. And so March 2019, we started the Global Resilience Project with the goal of having a book. That was
yes.
it.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the book took 3 years, 3.5 years to get out because as soon as I launched the project, I had to show how resilient I really was. My grandfather passed away, and on the way home from his funeral, my husband and I got in a car accident on the Sea to Sky Highway, and I got a concussion. And then a few months later, Shane, my husband, almost died. He had a heart attack and quadruple bypass surgery, also open heart surgery. The pandemic happened. This
Wow.
whole time we were trying to get pregnant, we were told that we needed further testing, like we struggled with fertility, and we were told we probably could get pregnant on our own. We got pregnant on our own without trying, but unfortunately we miscarried. And then 3 weeks after the miscarriage, my father-in-law suddenly died after a 3-week battle with cancer.
Wow.
And 3 months later, my mother suddenly died after a 3-week battle with cancer. And then my dad died the same year as my mom, in the same week, but a year after. And I wanted to give up many times on many different levels of giving up, but I didn't. And I kept putting one foot in front of the other. The first book, The Global Resilience Project, came out in June 2022 and became an international bestseller. And
Wow.
then I realized I actually started a global movement and launched a podcast and a clothing line. And my sister came and worked with me. She works with me on the project, Alana, and she's our mental health director. And I
Oh.
became a motivational speaker and a writer. And I was like, okay, well, like I don't know what I'm going to do next.
Mhm.
My mom came to me in a dream. She's like, I'm so proud of you. And I was getting ready to put my second book out. So I was like, all right. So Resilient AF was announced. And it
Yes.
came out in March and it became a bestseller. And now we're working on our third book in the anthology called Resilient AF Stories of Resilience Volume 2. And my job is to help people strengthen their resilience muscle based on neuroscience and be that lighthouse in the storm.
Wow. Thank you. I'm just taking a second to take all of that in. I know you're saying it confidently and you've been through it. So, but the journey I'm sure to take you to now, I can only imagine. So thank you so much for having the strength to go through what you did and talk about it. That's why I was just drawn to you because it's like this isn't a very outspoken topic conversation, which I personally would love for it to be like you can speak freely and not be worried how the other person's going to feel because it's uncomfortable or whatever it might be. So thank you, and I feel for you, and I send you love and appreciate you for having this conversation day in and day out.
Thank you.
Okay, wow, yeah, the universe really tested you on the resilience, huh?
Yeah, I didn't think I'd be a 39-year-old I'm sober,
Yeah,
childless, parentless bird watcher. I live in Kamloops. I was living in Pemberton. I'm from Winnipeg, like this wasn't on my vision board,
yeah.
but here I am.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah. So,
Wow.
but yeah, and so it's just part of what you asked me about the navigating grief framework, and we can come back to it when you're ready. But I became the griefy BFF I wish I had while navigating all of that. And I built a framework, which is like a checklist to help people navigate the depths of the pain of grief.
Yeah, well, that's okay. There's so many things I'm so fascinated about your story, one, but also the tools, because that's where I've done my work, a little bit of work, read my books, podcast, whatever it is. But there's not necessarily like nobody, I don't know, you get books or tools or plans for everything else, and then grief comes along and you're like,
Hmm.
what happens here, and only because I read a science-based book can I process it so much more because I understand how my brain is functioning around it. But when you said grieving high performers with your navigating grief system, I was like, wow, especially for I almost feel like there's another bizarre level of grief and awareness when you're sort of a high performer because you process so much intellectually. It's like, how should I feel about this? Well, I'm fine, but should I be fine? Maybe I should grieve a little bit more. There's like so much more eh, thoughts around it. So what is that? What do you do in the sense where you share your books, or is there coaching,
Yeah.
like a whole program where you take somebody through?
Yeah.
What does that look like?
So, the specific navigating grief framework is a tool that I created because I got to a place in my grief, like I have my marketing and PR business. I couldn't not work. It was the height of the pandemic, compound grief. And when I was able to catch my breath, I realized that people were reaching out to me needing support in navigating, either the anticipatory loss of someone that they knew was terminal, or like in loss. And so I sat down to really think about like what did I wish I had?
Mm.
And what did I do that helped? And so the framework, the navigating grief framework, can serve as like a structured path to healing while also acknowledging the unique high pressures of us high performers.
Mm.
And this can be a process where you look at it and you follow it on your own, or you work with me or another, person to guide you through it. And like grief isn't linear, and so neither is your healing. And so this framework is meant to be taken as it comes. You don't need to do it in any specific order because
Right.
it's messy. Healing is messy. Like,
Yeah.
and so it's really easy. So it spells out the word grief.
Okay.
And so the first one is the G, grief. It's grounding in the present.
Mm.
And this is mindfulness, routine, daily gratitude practice. And the way I teach daily gratitude practice is all based on neuroscience.
Mm.
And we can touch on that in a bit. But so grounding in the present. So mindfulness, basically trying to help anchor you in the moment. It helps with overwhelming emotions.
Mm.
Routine, building any routine. Maybe it's simply like getting up and getting out of your bed and going to the couch and pouring a bowl of Cheerios, but establishing routine and structure to helps you see and feel a bit of normalcy in the state of chaos, because grief is so out of our control.
Yeah.
The R is for resilience, muscle, rituals, and routines. And this is strengthening your resilience muscle is what my specialty is. I specialize in helping people do this. It's what I'm doing a TED Talk in October. It's what I'm going to be speaking about. I'm going to be honing in on one of the ways,
Mm.
but this is something I'm very passionate about because it really helped me through. And so resilience muscle, rituals, and routines is when you acknowledge your feelings, you recognize and accept that range of emotions that comes with grief,
Mhm.
and also understanding that they're okay. Like, we don't need to suppress them, and it's a natural part of the healing process. And then expressing these emotions, so finding healthy outlets for emotional expression, so journaling, art, talking with a trusted expert or confidant, someone maybe who isn't so impacted by that direct grief, because it's really hard to be the wounded helping the wounded. And then also, there are specific things you can do to strengthen your resilience muscle based on neuroscience. And I recommend building these into your routine.
Mm.
The I is for introspection and understanding. So reflecting on that loss and really understanding, because a lot of times you start going deep and thinking like, what did I do, or why me? And
Mm.
reflecting on this loss is important. And so when you allocate that time to reflect on the loss and the impact on your life, your family's life, their life, and acknowledging the pain and the cherished memories and having that duality is really beautiful. And, you know, thinking about all the sad things, it's inevitable, but remembering all the beauty in that life and the legacy is a way forward.
Mm.
And then personal values, reconnecting with your personal values and beliefs can help provide comfort and a sense of purpose during this time. So, for example, I learned that helping people helped me. So
Yeah.
I kept helping people. That's why I talk about it. It helps me to help people, right? And you don't need to be so public about it. But this is my personal values, is helping people. I always have been that way.
Mhm.
E is for engagement. Engagement with support systems.
Mhm.
You are not meant to go through this alone, and grief is very isolating and very lonely. It's a
Mhm.
very personal experience. So, community, actively seeking and engaging with supportive communities, maybe it's friends, family, support groups, professional counselors, online groups, whatever it might be, finding community of people who can support, hold space, and help you navigate, and then helping others. And this might come a lot later, but considering other ways to help. And this might be, helping someone else through their grief once you're out of the deep, deep pain of it.
Mhm.
But this helps give you another sense of purpose and connection. And then the F is for forward movement. It's the future. Setting realistic goals. So establishing small, manageable goals to help you have that sense of purpose and give you that sense of accomplishment. Setting small goals and achieving them gives you that dopamine hit and helps you feel good. And it
Yeah.
can be something as simple as like, okay, so tomorrow I'm going to wash my hair. for those of us who have hair, we know, and adaption, like recognizing that your life is going to be different and there is this new normal, and understanding that moving forward doesn't mean forgetting. But you can find ways to carry forward that memory of the lost one. It might be, like my picture of my mom and sister on my desk. My dad's across the way. I have a tattoo in honor of my dad. I have my mom's signature tattooed on me. I have a message from my mom tattooed on me. Like finding other ways to carry them forward. It could be as simple as, instead of, just saying my mom, you can always say my mom's Sharon, and you saying her name. There's no wrong way to do it. And then finding a new meaning. So exploring activities, hobbies, maybe causes that are important to you, but this is a way for you to really figure out what you can do moving forward that brings you joy in your life.
Mhm.
And sometimes it's building new connections and discovering new passions can help the healing process. And like once you go through such a traumatic loss, like you are never the same. And it is, when you have that capacity, it is a good time to look forward and see what can you remove from your life, what can you bring to your life, and what relationships can you now build.
Yeah.
And yeah, and this is like, these are my recommendations again, and it doesn't have to be done in that order, but these are some things that will help you navigate that grief.
Right. One, thank you so much. Beautifully said. I just wanted to touch on the community aspect. What would you have like some kind of advice, say for not the person grieving, but the rest of the
Mhm.
community that want to show up but have no idea how to show up for that person grieving? Because I find that in my experience has been
Mhm.
like a really tricky situation to navigate because
Mhm.
you don't want to make someone uncomfortable and they don't know, they don't want to trigger you. And then it just is sort of fizzles when really I thought maybe more communication, but I don't know
Yeah.
research you have on it.
Yeah, I think it's a big question, but there's just a couple of things off the bat.
Hmm.
Um, it never hurts to send food or meal gift cards.
Mm.
And usually right after loss, the community shows up and then everyone starts to go back to their regular life, but the griever is still in that pain for a
Mhm.
long time. And so maybe showing up for them, obviously right after, but keep showing up.
Mhm.
And showing up can look as simple as sending them food, sending a text message thinking of you, knowing important dates like when was that person's birthday or a special anniversary, or maybe a song came on that, you guys would listen to. But figuring out those ways that you can show up for those grievers is important. And food, people like, I can tell you cooking was the hardest thing. Like, I mean, I don't cook on a good day. So like I ordered a lot of food. And I think the other thing is like grief does make other people really uncomfortable. And it was really interesting because my grief made some people so uncomfortable that I did, like, our friendships changed and I didn't really hear from them. It brought up memories of their grief.
Mhm.
And also sometimes my other people's grief sometimes showed up so much more like passionately than mine, that I had trouble. But I think the biggest thing is holding space.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need to sit there and say the right thing or the wrong thing, but just listen and ask questions and tell me about your mom, tell me about your brother,
Mhm.
and have that other person share, but or just hold space.
Yeah.
I have a friend who needs support, and we're gonna have dinner and I'm gonna hold space, and who knows what's gonna happen, but and holding space means like you are embodying empathy. You are sitting in their pain with them.
Mhm. Yes, I love that. That's a nice intention where it's a lot less pressure of like, how do I do the right thing or what, but just simply be
And
present.
yeah, so my mom passed away now 3.5 years ago, and my dad 2.5 years ago. I still have a lot of people that, like, some of my mom's friends,
Mhm.
they reach out before family. They'll reach out before my aunts and uncles on, like, my mom's birthday is January 17th, the
Mhm.
anniversary of her passing, Mother's Day. Hey, thinking of you today. Mother's Day is extra like challenging because of also like the miscarriage, but you
Yeah.
know, on those important days, there's certain people who will immediately think of you. And like that goes a really long way. And it's okay if no one messages me on my mom's birthday. Like my sister and I always get together and we have rituals. We will have a
Yeah.
cupcake. We
Yeah.
sing happy birthday. And we have other rituals around, like my mom and dad's angel versaries. They passed away in the same week. Alana and I have grief week, where it's like spring break for sad people. And instead of being sad and cold and alone, we meet up somewhere warm. And last year we went on a cruise, and this year we're going on a cruise. And then like we have matching shirts with our parents' face on them. And we turn it into a ritual. And like You know, like it's just our thing. And like we come up with our own ways to do it. And it's sad, but it doesn't have to be like you can't change what happened, and you can still be really sad, but also honor the memory. And what I think is really cool is that that's inspiring other people to create rituals around those that are gone. But also, it's really nice when someone might, maybe they don't know what to say on the anniversary of the loss, the loved one, or they, you know, or the Mother's Day or my mom's birthday, but they might reach out and say, you know, I'm wishing you a lot of comfort during grief week,
Right.
right? Like there's, it's like that feeling of being thought of. And every loss is different, but I know my mom and my dad were my biggest fans.
Mm.
And I have abandonment issues from my dad's addiction, and the loss of a parent feels like the ultimate abandonment. Like it's the ultimate abandonment,
Yeah.
and they're not coming back.
Yeah.
And so knowing that someone's thinking of me and sends that text, maybe it's an emoji or a photo or thinking of you, or maybe it's out of the blue and like they just pop in. Like sometimes randomly a friend's like, your mom was in my dream last night. I have to tell you about it. I love that.
Yes.
And I
That's
think that means a lot to someone else, like who's going through something. And the further away that time slips from that anniversary of them passing, it feels like the less support for the griever there is.
yeah.
But we have technology. Put some notes in your phone, set
Yeah.
reminders, you know?
Hmm. I know I have some people in my life, I've been sending them a text on for 10 years on one day, and I'm like, even past relationships, and I thought, should I
Yeah.
stop texting? Like it's been a long time.
Yeah.
Well,
No, they appreciate it.
yeah, I would too. So that's what I think. So this is actually all fairly recent. Like you have, this isn't old. You articulated so well that it seems like you've been processed it for a while. What, like, how did you think, like, you've done so much work around it. How did you know to dive this deep? Like, how did you get there?
Is it impulse? Is it ADHD? Is it intuition?
Okay.
I'm fairly like I love public speaking, and
Mm.
I love writing. I've been published since I was a kid, and I've been leading social media workshops like 16 years. And while this was happening, I was showing up because I was showing up on social media while this was happening. And I'm very honest. Like you'll sometimes see me show up on social media, no makeup. I very much show the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I don't curate my life.
Mhm.
I tell the truth. And um what was happening was that people started to ask me like, how did you get through it? And I started, hey, do you want to come talk to my group about resilience? And then the
Mhm.
pandemic happened and the word resilience became a thing. So, you know, I didn't wake up one day and be like, I'm going to be a grief and resilience expert and a motivational speaker, but I love speaking, and people just kept asking me for support. And I just formulated a talk that people really wanted.
Right.
And when it came to the navigating grief framework, I have a lot of skills in the marketing, PR, entrepreneur world and the thought leadership world. Like I've been featured on TV and billboards, and I know how to build a business. And
Mm.
so when I was building the Global Resilience Project, it wasn't to be a business. We are not a not-for-profit. We are not profitable yet, but we are a social enterprise. We do give back resources and time and energy to various causes. We opened a children's center for at-risk youth in Ghana. We donate to Camp Aaron. We're just in the process of deciding where we're donating to next. And so when I realize that this is my passion and that my goal and purpose in this lifetime is to help people. And our goal is to empower 888 million people to strengthen their resilience muscle by August 2025. Sorry,
Wow.
August 2030. I was like, I need to build out systems and processes to generate revenue.
Mhm.
And I was looking at what do people need? And people are coming to us for grief support. And
Right.
I know that like I have in my PR business a social media empowerment framework. People like frameworks, they like formulas, they like processes.
Mm.
And you don't want to give people something where they have to guess when they're in that state of trauma. So I thought about how can I help people?
Mm.
And you know, we have some stuff launching in 2025 too that like, you know, we're building out a group support program where it's a membership. We have a course, and then there'll be a membership where people can join, and we, you know, have expert speakers come in because not everyone can afford therapy. Not everyone can afford the one-on-one support.
Mhm.
Not everyone's a high performer, a high performer. They
Yes.
might, they might be a high performer, but they're a single mom who just experienced a tragic loss, and like they're really conscious about like their spend.
Yeah.
I want to provide opportunities for everyone.
Right. So really, life happened. You indirectly saw an opportunity for a business that could just help a different group of people and then ran with those skills.
But it wasn't even me like saying, oh, this is a business. It was like, I really love doing this.
Of
How can I make
course.
money so I don't have to have two businesses?
Well, that's the thing. That's
Yeah.
really what I think most entrepreneurs is they're looking to help people in a way that they want to help people. And then, but that's just so fascinating how this kind of came about in a beautifully painful way.
Mhm.
How do you like now where you are? What's your perspective towards everything that you went through kind of around 2019, 2018? That like when you look at it, what do you think now?
It was, it feels like a blur.
Hmm.
Like, I mean, with the pandemic layered on top of all of it, right? Like, so my mom died right after the other two losses, and the vaccine hadn't come out. So my mom suddenly dies, and no one would hug us.
Oh,
So, like, there's all these layers to it. It wasn't just, oh, my mom suddenly died. It was like she learned she had cancer, she told she'd be fine, went into the hospital. They're like, your body's covered in tumors. You have 2 weeks left to live. And she died 3 days later. Like, she didn't even make it to a biopsy. And then no one would hug me. And then we're Jewish. And so Jewish people like to like get together. It's called Shiva, and we honor people, but we couldn't do Shiva because it was the pandemic. And so people were sending us food, and they were sending us bagels for 50 people at a time, and I ate a lot of bagels, and like it was just so weird. And I don't really often reflect on it because it was a very terrible time,
yeah,
but I can definitely tell you that like the community, like my community and that community, showed up the best they could under such crazy circumstances of like sudden loss in Manitoba and -50. Like, my sister's bar mitzvah DJ was now Zoom streaming my mom's, or not Zoom, streaming my mom's funeral. I'm like, what a plot twist.
or yeah,
Yeah. And like, I don't reflect. Like, it was a really terrible time. And I'm glad I never have to go through burying two parents in one year again, ever. Like, my parents are dead and I never have to go through that. And I'd rather them come back, and I'd love for them to be alive. And I would go through that again if I could bring them back, but I can't. And I go through all these different scenarios. And it was probably out of all the loss, burying my mom that suddenly while navigating my dad dying,
yeah,
worst experience of my life.
yeah,
And now it's like I can actually get through hard things. I just hiked the West Coast Trail, very different than burying a parent.
yeah,
But the West Coast Trail is like 100 kilometers, and you're hiking up and down ladders and cliffs and beaches and mud up to your hips. And almost started crying the first day. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm 5'1". Like, I like yoga and paddleboarding, like not like, and I like 1 hour hikes. This was crazy. And
yeah,
I remember standing on a ladder. My head was like, I was resting because like my bag was 40 pounds. I was like, what am I doing? I can't breathe. And then I was like, you buried your mom. This is nothing. Like, suck it up. You're fine.
yeah,
And there's been a couple times where like I feel like I'm like, should I be scared? And I realize I have very little like fear, and
yeah,
that I feel like I can accomplish things. And knowing that three parents in their 60s died without retiring, and they lived for retirement. All I want to do when I retire, I'm going to do this and do that. I'm not living a life I want to retire from. I'm actually living a life I love that I don't want to retire from, because is tomorrow guaranteed? No.
yeah,
You know? Like, and I don't want to be that person that society, you go to work 9 to 5 and you like put up money away for your pension and you work really hard. And I'm not living for the weekend. I'm not living for after work. I'm living a life I love. And like, this is maybe my fourth or fifth interview, and I held a workshop.
right.
And I talk about this all day because I'm so passionate about it. Because guess what? Someone you love, you as in you and the listeners, someone you love is going to die, and it's going to be really terrible. And I'm going to hold your hand through it, or at least show you where you can find some information, because you're not going to want to feel like that forever.
Yeah, absolutely. Wow, thank you. That was beautiful.
Oh,
100%, it's true, and I feel the same as the grief. Almost think of it as a gift, especially at a
yeah.
young age, because it's like I'm not gonna wait till I'm 50 or 60 to retire. Same thought process. It's like I might only have till 28, 30. So I need to go live my best life right now.
Yeah, and look, I did have a midlife crisis, and I like spent all the money to my name, and like opened that children's center for at-risk youth in Ghana, and I tracked gorillas in Uganda and traveled Croatia, and then I came home and I was like, oh, I'm still alive, and I have no money. So like, but I think
It's about,
like let me tell you that like you don't need to live a life you want to retire from, and like you don't have to be as drastic and cuckoo as me, but
yeah.
like do things for you. What's your bucket list? Like work, like don't wait till you're retired. You might, no one gets out of here alive.
Yeah.
And you might not make it to retirement, or you might get a lot of people get to retirement and boom, they're sick and they die.
Mhm.
Did
Yeah.
you experience loss too?
Yeah, I did. That's why I felt so aligned with you because my podcast is about interviewing high performer entrepreneurs, but because I've dealt with so much, not so much, but enough grief, just close grief. There was a year about 12 family members passed, and it didn't quite hit me until my cousin, who was 28, who was more like a sister, like she grew up with us, she passed, and then it was like, whoa, man. And it still, I still go through waves. And that was sort of how it started writing blogs. Blogging helped me. And it's like, I don't know. And some people would say it helped. I thought, okay, there's no point in going through this. It's just useless. It feels like if I'm not helping anyone else.
Yeah.
Oh, then I started a blog and I talk about this. And I just find from experience, so many friends were so uncomfortable or they just didn't know how to hold space. And so it was like, I feel really uncomfortable talking about this because I know you don't really want to. Now I feel a lot more comfortable and like kind of making it a very common conversation because I'm like, I want to change the world's perspective towards this so that when somebody is that situation when I was 23 comes up, my friends could have known how to hold space or I could have known how to ask for them to hold space, where instead it was just like, I don't know, I'm gonna go retreat into my room and cry alone, and that'll be that.
Wow, I'm sorry. Thank you for sharing that. And like sometimes it's like a one specific loss after a lot of loss that just like it snaps our brain.
Yeah, it was like the
And
rest were kind of okay, and I thought, okay, I think because they were older, but then somebody passing young, where I'm like, she didn't even live yet. I don't get it. So that's kind of where the passion too comes behind this, where now too so many experience grief or loss or even relationships where it's like, man, this needs to be like a topic in high school education that you're educated for preventative too.
well, that's the thing. That's why I'm like, so I like, I'm doing, I talk to kids, I talk to adults, business owners about how to strengthen your resilience muscle because you're inevitably going to experience some very hard stuff. And
Mhm.
if you have some tools that you can reach for that
Yeah,
are already habit, or knowing that you can reach for them when it's time,
yeah,
it will help you through it because it's going to happen.
yeah.
And, I have some people are like, Blair, like nothing's ever happened to me. And like, wow, your life is crazy. I'm like, it's coming. It's coming. It's gonna come to you, and I'm here for you.
Yes,
And like, I don't know. It's too bad that we have to experience such trauma and loss for us to wake up.
yes, yeah,
And if people could hear my message or your message or our message and wake up before it's too late, meaning realize that how precious every breath is,
mhm.
and that we should not be wasting our time in our meat suits, walking around, pushing buttons, being a slave, like to the man. Like, we don't have to. Like, why are you living? Are you alive? Or are you just living a life?
Yes, yes. Yes, 100%. No, I love it. It's beautiful. It's just, I'm so I haven't met anyone really this like passionate about the same topic because I feel a bit like, oh, it's so crazy. I love talking about death, like not in a bad way, but I'm like, you could die tomorrow. Even the next hour isn't guaranteed.
Yeah.
So when you go through the wave, how do you ride the wave, or how do you embrace this wave? Because that's something I've
Mhm.
experimented with in different ways over the years.
So, I live with anxiety and depression and PMDD and endometriosis, and like, I got the whole kit and caboodle. So I believe in medication. So I am medicated. I'm on an SSRI. I changed midway through griefs. No, right after my dad died, I thought I didn't need it anymore.
Mhm.
I was wrong. And I switched SSRIs, but um I'm very big into self-care.
Mm.
And managing my anxiety and regulating my nervous system are my priorities.
Mhm.
And I didn't know they were, but I realized when I do these things, my nervous system is regulated and I can manage it. So there's few things I do preventatively. I'm very much into my morning routine. I go to bed early. Sleep is really important. It's one of the things I teach about neuroscience, but I love sleep. And so if I know my day starts at 9 a.m., I'm usually up by 6. Maybe most days I'll move my body and I have a long hot tub or candlelit bath all before 7 a.m. And then I pull an oracle card and I journal and I process my feelings or I meditate. Like I drink my coffee or my tea. Sometimes I quit coffee. If my anxiety is really bad, I can't have coffee. But I'll sit in the window and pet my cat and like, be in nature. I do what I can. I ease into my day. The
Mhm.
biggest thing is how I start my day matters. And I got rid of like using my phone as an alarm, and I have a sunrise alarm clock. And I'm very much how I start my day matters. How I end my day matters. I have routines. Sometimes my days are really hectic. Sometimes they're 12-hour days and 8 hours of meetings, and then I have to get all my work done.
Mhm.
So sometimes my day starts off fine, and then I start to get panicky. Now, when the grief, resilience, pain comes,
Mhm.
which I think like also really has to do with my cycle or like around certain times, like January, and February suck. Like
Yeah.
my mom's November is my dad's birthday and the miscarriage and Dave died. January is my mom's birthday. February, both my parents died. Like it just
Yes.
a lot of death and no, like basically November to February are hard.
Yeah.
That's the root. I mean, it's also only been, but like 3 4 years, 3 years.
Not at all.
Yeah. And so like grief week with my sister helps. I now know like not to take too much on. Like I was supposed to publish this book. I wanted to publish it before last holiday season, but I didn't. And during the griefy time, I was editing and trying to get it launched. That's never happening again. My next book's coming out in January.
Right.
Grief month, February, grief month. It's for me to be griefy,
Yeah.
right? And so in the moment though, if I see something and it triggers me, couple things. I have a shoebox of photos. I have lots of things that bring me lots of good feelings. Sometimes something makes me happy, sometimes it makes me sad. But if I need to cry, I let it out. You don't hold your pee in. You shouldn't hold your pee in. Don't hold your tears in. And, I talk to my mom a lot. I in my head, I'm talking to my parents often. But I have to let the people around me know, like I let my sister know I'm feeling really griefy today. And sometimes it's just like I wake up that way if I didn't sleep and I'm cranky. I have to ride it out. Sometimes it's having a bath, or maybe I stretch or do yoga or I journal. Sometimes I just binge watch Bravo TV shows. And I have to be honest with Shane, my husband, like I'm just feeling really griefy and sad. And lately I've noticed it's always kind of around when my cycle is like in a certain level of PMS. And I just need to take care of myself. And that sometimes looks like cookie dough ice cream. Sometimes it looks like a hike. Sometimes it's both.
Yeah, true.
And there's no consistency, but I know like if I'm constantly taking care of my mental health, the grief waves are less intense.
Yes. Yeah. I like that term, griefy. I haven't heard that one before.
Well, I'm your griefy BFF.
Yes, thank you. I'm gonna use that. That's such a great way to put it. I call it a grief attack because sometimes it just comes and you're like, whoa, what had that? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. And then the other like so and like other things like my mom's signature's on my arm and I love that. And one day I was feeling griefy and looking through pictures and I found a picture of me from when I was in grade 5 and I won an award. And then I was like, oh, that's cute. And I FaceTimed my sister who lives in the middle of Canada and I'm on the West Coast. I was like, look at this photo. It's from when I won an award. And mom took time off her work, which she never did because she was a single parent. She took time off to come watch me win this award for being a mensch, which is Yiddish for a nice person. So I won the nice person award. And I flipped as I'm holding it to my sister. On the back is a handwritten note from my mom that she wrote almost 30 years ago. And it said, proud of you. I burst out crying, happy and sad. I just all the feelings. I didn't have to label them. And I was like, you know what? It was right before my 7-day hike through the wilderness. I got it tattooed on my leg so I can look down and be, because I didn't realize how much I was missing her validation and her love and her support in the way of telling me every day she was proud of me. But now it's on my leg.
oh, true. Just the little actual comments, not just the person.
Yeah. So it's like the little, and like, I don't know what will happen. And I mean, you can't plan for what's going to trigger you. You can't plan for something one day might bring you joy, the next day will bring you pain. And I
Mm,
think it's just about having those tools to navigate.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was listening I feel you on the months because June I noticed, oh, that's always like I was watching some older videos that I had recorded when I was talking about it, and now I'm thriving and I'm like, whoa, June to July, what a different. But it's like, okay, those moods that you're going through and songs can just trigger that make you laugh, and then
Mhm.
5 minutes later you're crying and you're like, whoa, how'd the
But-
okay,
And
whatever.
sometimes a song comes on and I feel like it's my mom sending me a sign or my dad sending me a sign. Like it's like, I'm here with you.
Yeah, yeah. So thank you. Are you still doing your social media agency as well?
So I do offer a lot of different services, but my main focus right now is providing one-on-one support for entrepreneurs who want to be seen as thought leaders. So
Mm.
that is through publicity, so visibility in the media and social media. And my main product, besides the coaching that I sell, is I sell a 12-month social media and PR strategy where I work with the entrepreneur or the business and build out a 12-month strategy for visibility based on social media and publicity. And I often do one workshop a month. Like today, I had a workshop and over 50 people signed up. Sometimes it's a couple hundred, and I show up and I provide that inspiration. If people want to work with me further, it's always presented to them. And I have a couple clients I'm doing the work for, but I think I can make a bigger impact by the support and the coaching. And I
Okay.
do have a group program, but I'm not sure when I'm going to launch it again. It might be in the new year.
Okay.
I might wait. I might do it at the end of this year. I'm just trying to figure out the flow of what people want.
Yeah, well, because you've also really now just basically built a whole new business on top of your already full-time running
Yeah.
business.
And like, I'm never going to fully retire from the social media PR work, but providing the coaching and the workshops and like the social strategies is a way I can give back and help elevate businesses. And it's work that I'm extremely passionate about and I love it.
Right. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Well, I'm new to you, so it was interesting to see all the aspects. But really, this whole resilience is fairly new. Not resilience, I guess, in the sense of a business wise, but
No, the social enterprise is somewhat new and like the project didn't start off as a business, it was just a book. And so it's only been the last few years that I've been really in the process of shifting it to become a business.
yes, to help more people. So you still help entrepreneurs and them and their businesses. Interesting. So how do you kind of to my usual podcast here because we have a little bit more time. How do you manage your high performing day? I just like to hear how you process because you're doing so much and emotions and life.
Mhm.
Besides the morning routine, like what are the specifics? I know the morning routine, but how do you manage like a year? I see you think seasonally too.
Yeah, that's a great question. So I live by my schedule.
Mhm.
Everything needs to be scheduled. I even have to put in my hikes. My day isn't fully blocked. Like I like to have openings so people can book with me.
Mhm.
I automate whatever I can. So like I have links for people to book with me. Um, and depending on what cycle I am in a sales cycle, I'm really good at time blocking. So I try not to have meetings, which is not what's the truth right now, but because I'm filling my book and selling some product. But usually Mondays I won't have meetings, or if I do, they're afternoon, but I try not to have meetings Mondays. I'm the most productive in the morning. So generally I'll block off mornings.
Mm.
And so I work with my energy. And so like if I have to have meetings, they might start at a certain time and they're back to back in an afternoon. This spring I tried Flow Fridays. I'm actually just reflecting on that. Spring and summer, fall Flow Fridays where there's no plan, there's no schedule, there's no to-do list. I'm gonna wake up and roll with it. And that's actually been really beneficial for my creativity. And it not forces me, but I'm inspired to get my deliverables done Monday to Thursday.
Mhm.
And I'm always trying new things, but the more time I have, the more like things can be stretched out. So
Right.
for me, it's about being really efficient. And yeah, sometimes I'm planned a year out. Like if it's, I might be going to Kenya, and I say might because the tickets aren't booked, but I'm in the talks of doing a 3-week speaking tour in Kenya in November. Right. So once that's set up, I'm going to have a lot of planning and moving things around. So for me as a high performer, lots of meetings, lots of scheduling, organization, being really strict with my boundaries, letting clients know, like unless it's an emergency, like I need at least 24 hours for a meeting. Very, very holding strong. Blair, I want to meet on a Friday. We don't, no, I can meet with you Monday. Like I'm very protective of my time.
Mhm.
And I also think lists. I have a notebook with every day I have a list, and then I have a post-it note with the top, like, where, oh, I'm not going to show you. It's kind of embarrassing, actually. I have a lot to do, but like so I have a big list, and every day gets a big list, and then there's a post-it note with the next few things I need to do. I cross them out as I do, and then I start a new post-it note. I go through a lot of post-it notes, but it works for me. I have a highlighter. I'm very big into that. I'm also very big into goal setting, and that helps me decide which direction I'm going to take my week or my month.
So how often do you, thank you, do you do that kind of reset? Is it weekly? Is it monthly? Is it both? Is it daily?
Generally at the end of a month. So like this week, I'll be looking at August and setting my predictable, possible, and potential income goals and how I'm going to make that and what I need to do to do it. And the one thing that holds true is one, every time I reduce or stop networking, my revenue goes down. So I know I need to do more networking online, in person, wherever, depending on my goals. Two, sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So the other thing, the other thing is like when I am doing sales, so like people who are I'm posting about what I'm selling or what I'm working on constantly. If I'm posting on social media more and sending out more emails and showing up on more podcasts and at more events, I get more sales meetings. And then also I have people who've expressed interest or liked or commented on things. I can do outreach. When I don't do the sales work, sales don't come in.
True.
So I look at what my goals are and what needs to get done, and I do it. And that might be like, okay, every day I'm spending an hour on sales, and it's outreach to past clients, or, asking for referrals or introductions, or seeing if they need a refresh in something, and whatever it might be. And so like right now, because I'm in a sales cycle where our book only has 50 spots, they're not all gone, but there's a few left. I'm having a lot of meetings about that. And then I have, like, for example, after we record, I have a meeting in 12 minutes about, someone who was at my workshop who wants to work with me. So do I normally have meetings after 5? No. Do I normally take meetings at 7 a.m.? No, but I'm in a sales cycle. And so I look at what needs to get done and I adapt and adjust, especially because I know that we are going into August, and then it's September. It's like the beginning of the year, start back to school. People start thinking about the holidays, and like you want people to be set up. And so, it's about knowing what's coming and what's happening.
Wow, thank you. Interesting. So sales cycle, that's for a kind of product, or you're focusing on a launch of something?
Yeah.
You're shifting towards.
Yeah. Like, for example, like I have a TED Talk in October. And right after that TED Talk, I'm going to leverage the fact that I have a TED Talk to get more speaking engagements. And I pitch speaking engagements now, but right now I can only do so much on my own. And getting all the authors committed to the next book is important, so they have time to write the story, and they come to our writing workshops that we're hosting. And basically I try to space things out so I'm not doing everything at once.
Yes. But it does sound like you still plan it out the whole year. You have a bird's eye view, and then a quarterly, and then monthly.
Yeah, and it changes all the time. It changes. Like,
yeah.
right?
You have that
And that's
awareness.
okay. But like my main goal is be paid to speak around the world.
Right.
Right. So that's goal number 1. So that's priority.
Yes.
But then if there's deadlines for editors and publishers, like
yeah, the rest kind of trickle into whatever you're doing. But so you have a very clear why and mission right now. It's like, okay.
Yeah.
That makes it easier for you to, I'm just stating that, I know, but I like it to, part of what I do is like have a really clear goal so you don't get fuzzled by everything else.
Yep. And the goal is empower 888 million people to strengthen their resilience muscle and pay bills.
And an abundance more, so you can keep doing what you're doing. Amazing. One more question about your health. Just what's your sort of game plan strategy towards your health to maintain this high schedule and everything that you do? What's like a brief on take care of yourself physically?
I'm 5.5 years sober. I don't escape. My mental health is just as important as my physical health. It's health. Regulating my nervous system is always priority number 1. Sleep is in that. So that's really important. If I'm tired, I can't function at this level. And making sure that I'm nourishing my body and eating meals and fueling my body. And Also recognizing the signs of potential burnout coming. Like if I'm feeling like too much is on the go, I have to stop what I'm doing or change things around, and like saying no and canceling plans. Like I had a friend visiting and they wanted to go for dinner. I was like, I can't. Like I felt there's too much happening. And for me, it's just about knowing like what fulfills me and what drains me, and do more of what fulfills me and remove what drains me, or say no or hit pause.
Mhm. When you're saying no, how do you fully say no? Are there certain things where you're like, oh, I kind of, like want to maybe show up for somebody else, but it doesn't fuel you? How do you navigate that? Like how much to give? Is it
Yes.
there
So
like,
like the dinner last night, good friend moved away and she was in town, and I was like, you know what? I have too much work and I just don't feel like I have the capacity.
mhm. So
And I
simple.
use the word capacity a lot to people who I think would understand it.
Mhm.
Um, I like the biggest thing is sleep. Like if I have people over or we're at a party or we're at an event, like if I'm getting tired, I don't force myself to stay awake. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go.
Right.
My husband and I often are in different, like he's a night owl, but
Mhm.
I think part of saying no, it's letting like people who know me know my priorities, and I make it very clear.
Mhm.
So it's not, oh, like, why are you leaving or why are you not coming? It's like, no, I'm tired. I'm just gonna not.
Yeah. I know it's
Like
very straightforward, but
it,
very challenging for people.
yeah. And like, and I think sometimes like it's okay sometimes for me to put others before me. Like sometimes a friend might be in a lot of pain
Mhm.
and needs support. And that might look like spending the night at their house.
Mhm.
And I might not get a lot of sleep because of, their pain.
Mhm.
That's okay
Mhm.
if I have capacity for it.
Right.
If I'm in a place where I can help.
Right.
If I'm not, I will hopefully provide resources or support in other ways.
Yeah, that's a good point. Resources smart. Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you. So if you have, well, I have kind of two. I ask for one sort of mantra or words that you live by, either for entrepreneurs or grievers or entrepreneur grieving
Yeah.
high performers. Something maybe that you live by, or words of advice to somebody that you would might be like to hear.
I think like for those high performers who are deep in that grief, like it's okay to not be okay. And eventually it will get easier to put one foot in front of the other, and that you are not alone. You don't have to walk this alone. You are resilient, and you can reach out to communities like ours to hold your hand through it.
Mhm. Thank you. Last question. Where can everyone find you or your business?
Yeah.
Where can they get everything that they can get from you?
Okay, so our website for the project is theglobalresilienceproject.com.
Mhm.
My website, which right now reflects my publicity and PR work, which is shifting to be more the public speaking writing, is blairkaplan.ca.
Mhm.
Um, but honestly, if you Google Blair Kaplan Venables, you can find every little thing I've ever done on the internet. I
Okay.
am, and social media, like I love LinkedIn. I absolutely love Instagram. I'm Blair from Blairland.
I love your Instagram.
Oh,
You
thank you.
make me laugh in the best way possible, but in such a raw way. It's like,
Yeah.
yes, rest. You should be resting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Thank you so much for your time today, Blair. I really appreciate your openness and vulnerability and love and energy. So thank you.
Well, thanks for having me, and I can't wait to meet you in the flesh.
Me too. Thank you.